Hey guys, it's Zack Snyder. I think there's some pretty cool stuff here. I hope you check it out.
Welcome everyone to the very first episode of the Release the Snyder Cut Debates. We've been spending the past few years arguing and fighting on Twitter, and somebody had the great idea, why don't we just fight each other on YouTube? So this is what we're going to do. Every week, there's going to be one episode. We're going to have two huge Snyder fans go head-to-head debating a specific topic surrounding Zack Snyder, one of his films, a film of his that we'd like to see, which characters we prefer, and so on and so forth. We've got a host of debates planned out and ready to come out with a host and a gaggle of incredible fans from all over the world that are ready to go head to head and tell you why they are right and the other person on the other end is absolutely wrong. For the initial episode, I am so happy to have two guys that I think are some of the best that the fandom has to offer. First off, I'm going to introduce my very good friend Karim. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing really well.
That's great.
I'm doing really well, and I just want to remind everyone that Kareem is the guy that jumped out of a plane yelling out "Release the Snyder Cut." That was him. So
Baller.
I just want that to be in people's heads before we start this debate. And then we also have my main man Gio. Gio, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. How you doing, my friend?
How's it going, Manu? You're already stacking the odds against me, saying, "All right, this guy's jumping out of a plane."
But you
What
did,
did I
I
do?
was about to say, my man Gio was at New York Comic Con. He was on the ground. He got to meet Rob Liefeld, and he was just out there spreading the word for the movement all on his own with his little placard. Being a whole,
oh,
man.
I'm looking at it right now.
There you go, man. You keep that stuff. So see, it's evened out. It's evened out. Yeah, like I said, you both are really some of the best that the fandom has to offer, and we are eternally grateful for everything that you guys have done. And I'm eternally grateful for coming on and being the first ones up to do this because it's definitely going to be a brand new venture into the movement and into the future. So today's debate is going to be whether Zack Snyder's approach to building the DCEU was the correct one. Gio will be on the pro Zack side, and Kareem, again, the man who jumped out of a plane for the Zack Snyder, is on the con side. So I'm going to briefly explain the rules. So this is going to be an actual debate. There's going to be different stages with different time limits. The first stage is going to be an initial 3 minutes where each of our guests are going to have the opportunity to present their ideas and their perspective on the question. Following that, each member will have another 2 minutes to dismantle the opponent's perspective, point of view, and argument. And finally, both men will get 1 extra minute to defend their position. And before we head out, I'm going to give each of them an extra 30 seconds to give their closing thoughts on the debate, on their topic, or about how great of a host moderator I was. So at the end of this debate, I will judge and I will choose who is the winner and who is the loser. But afterwards, we're going to put this up on Twitter, and you guys are going to be able to go out there and vote and tell me whether I was wrong or I was right to choose the side that I was going to choose. Hopefully, I won't let anybody down again. So we did the clip toss and the coin toss, and Gio won. So Gio picked Kareem to get us started. All right. So Kareem, you are on the con side. So you should tell us, you have 3 minutes to tell us why you feel that Zack Snyder's approach to building the DCEU was not the correct one. Your 3 minutes begin now.
Well, because it's Zack Snyder, I would say the more the merrier. Because the more movies from Zack Snyder we have, the more entertainment we get, the more comic book movies we get, and the more DC content we get. So, in my eyes, if you're going to do this five-story arc, which was for me at least never a five-story arc, because some people say there was Man of Steel 1, Man of Steel 2, GL1, GL2, some others say there's a three-part Justice League, it gets very confusing as to what the five-story arc was. So, for me, the fact that if we went the Marvel Cinematic Universe route, which is not the MCU route, it's just a normal way of rooting for these heroes, I would go with a Man of Steel trilogy, I would go with a Wonder Woman trilogy, a Ben Affleck trilogy, Aquaman trilogy, Flash trilogy before I even go to the length of doing a Justice League movie. I mean, I love Batman vs Superman, it's my favorite movie of all time, but imagine this Ben Affleck coming in to fight Henry Cavill after seeing exactly what he went through rather than interpreting it, imagining it within each person's eyes. No, we have to know exactly what he went through. Some people are not convinced that just a little look at Robin's broken costume is gonna give us like fan service. It's much more than that. We had to see for ourselves how Dick Grayson presumably died. That's a first. We've never seen him die. It's usually Jason Todd. So that was only explained on Vera to us. Why
90
wouldn't we
seconds.
know? Why wouldn't we know how Dick Grayson died? Why wouldn't we develop Henry Cavill's story before unleashing him against Batman? Why wouldn't we see Ezra Miller as the Flash before a Justice League movie, as well as Aquaman before the Justice League movie? I would have much rather have a lot of character development before we go into the Justice League. This is not being an MCU fanatic. This is just being a linear, constructive, and chronological type of person that's investing solely on character development before you put these heroes in a movie which embodies a unified Justice League ensemble. So yeah.
You still have a minute, Kareem.
Oh, okay. I thought I had 5 seconds. So when the time is right, when the development is there, when these characters have what they deserve and their single story outing, which is in their city, let's say Metropolis, Superman fights Brainiac, meets Supergirl, loves Lois Lane, gets probably married to her, or maybe dies from Doomsday and comes back. That would be great to see him do that without having
30 seconds.
Batman into it. I have this huge idea. I've always had it, which was Superman 2 would be Batman versus Superman without Doomsday, and then Batman and Superman become friends at the end. And by then, each person diverts into their own world. We have a Batman solo movie, and then we have a
10
Superman
seconds.
solo movie. Oh, I can't continue that.
All right. Good
I'm gonna
job.
go back to that later. So.
All right, good job, Kareem. Thank you so much. That was
Yeah.
really good. You were really you were ready. You were definitely planned out, and you definitely had your arguments, your ducks in a row. So
I
thank
hope
you
so.
for that. So Gio, you have 3 minutes to tell us why you feel that Zach's approach was the correct approach. Your 3 minutes begin now.
Well, so I think that Zach's approach was the correct approach because when you look at what was happening in those films, we only got to see two of them. We're still waiting to see the third one, but at least now we know what's coming. But basically, when you look at those first two films, there's a continuous story happening there. Yes, Man of Steel focuses on Superman, and Man of Steel is sort of you can look at it as a solo story on Superman, but everything that happens in that film sort of progresses into what's going to happen to Batman v Superman. Like all the events and all the side characters, all of that's culminating to this big epic meaning of like three different types of justices in Batman v Superman. And I think what he was trying to do was he had one story in mind that he was trying to tell. He got halfway through it, and that's sort of what this T-shirt means and what this symbol means is that he had one continuous flow of where he was going to start the events. Yes, the first film is the idea of Superman, but it's also the idea of what happens if an alien reaches Earth, and what is that like what sequence of events are going to go through because of that major thing happening in the world. Some of the I guess the people were upset about like at that time we were looking at heroes like in this realistic form, but for that to really work, you had to have this like lived in world. I
90
thought
seconds.
I thought one of the greatest things about Suicide Squad was that like we don't know exactly how it was supposed to go, but if you look at a lot of the pieces of that movie, it sort of just hammers in that Batman existed. He's sort of treated with these characters before, and they all have their lives, and everything's like sort of happening. And then you get glimpses of it in the main arc, and then that can sort of veer off and do its own thing. I think one of the biggest problems that the MCU has is that they keep making films that are so similar to each other, because to be able to like hold their continuous story about like their Infinity arc or whatever, they needed to keep sort of characters not be important or not be too important, or they spent too much time focused on the individual characters that it didn't make sense when they put them together. A great example of that is Captain Marvel. They literally had to throw her off the planet during this like catastrophic event
30
because
seconds.
she was too powerful to make sense in the movie. So I think that what Zack was doing made a ton of sense. I think that he sort of had one main story in mind, and that's why the side stories and side movies didn't happen at one shot. And it also gives an opportunity for those directors to sort of have their vision outside of what the main storyline is.
Awesome. Thank you both. I really like both of your perspective on it. Kareem's desire to see each character grow on their own before being smack dab together, as well as Gio's perspective of the main point was that there was one story to tell, with these characters each having a part to play within that story. So I think so far you guys are pretty neck and neck. You've got me interested in both of your takes. So the next part is going to be the 2-minute rebuttal. So this gives you guys the opportunity to go against the other person's argument. You don't have to be nice to each other here. If there's something that the other person said that you felt did not make sense or that you want to attack, please go right ahead and do it. You have 2 minutes to go for it. Kareem, you're up first, and your 2 minutes begin now.
I love everything you said, Gio, by the way, and I couldn't agree more to some extent, but some part of me just disagrees completely because as much as Batman vs. Superman is a movie I love, just imagine Batman vs. Superman purely concentrated on Batman vs. Superman. This whole sentence underneath it just wrecks of problems, which is Dawn of Justice. You want to call it a story that branches out from Man of Steel all the way to a climatic ending. I would say it's just a back and forth kind of mess that we could have avoided by doing a chronological, slowly and steady development that occurred naturally inside the universe. By that I mean, for example, if the whole movie was just centered around Batman versus Superman, let's say, and there's no back and forth from Diana going to the hotel, then undressing, then opening the laptop, then going on QuickTime, then seeing Cyborg, Aquaman, Flash, then going to the airport, then from the airport back to God knows where, then jumps out of nowhere and just crisscrosses her hands so she can be inside the movie. That's just too much of a
1
mess and
minute.
overstuffed stuff inside the movie, and as well as the entire Lex Luthor and Lois Lane subplot about the the blacklist bullet, black market bullet. I mean, we already knew Lex Luthor was the villain from the beginning. Why include all this subplot? So what I mean to say is that if our stories were more character driven, centered around the two essentials, and focused more on the story and the development of the characters, we wouldn't be in this mess in the first place. If after Batman vs. Superman, without the Dawn of Justice, we had a Batman
30
movie that
seconds.
showcased Ben Affleck on his own, and another Superman movie when Superman is resurrected because of Doomsday's death, I mean, Batman versus Superman without Doomsday. We do another movie called Superman 2 Points Doomsday, where Lex Luthor wants to go out of jail and have revenge on Superman. Superman dies, then we can see Ben Affleck
10
cameo in that
seconds.
movie in the funeral instead of doing 3 movies in one. You could have seen Ben Affleck in that funeral with, for example, a cameo from Diana Prince, and then we can build up to a
Okay.
movie called Dawn of Justice.
That's it.
Before Justice League. Yeah.
All right,
Sorry.
Kareem, you got your 2 minutes. Thank you
Thanks.
very much. I see that you took the opportunity to stuff in more of your script ideas in there.
Yeah.
Good move on your part. All right, Gio,
Uh,
you have 2 minutes to dismantle Kareem's argument. Your 2 minutes begin now.
Yeah, so I think that the idea of trying to make the events that happen in Dawn of Justice extend beyond that period of time don't make sense. Because in Dawn of Justice, there is this sort of like crashing of ideas between what Batman thinks justice is, what Superman thinks justice is, and what Lex Luthor thinks justice is. And then Lex Luthor is sort of acting as this catalyst to force everything to happen really fast. Because if anyone thinks about what's happening, then this like conflict between the two of them, this fight, wouldn't happen. You have to remember that the only reason that sort of Superman put aside his like thoughts on fighting Batman or like just treating this like in a different way was because he was forced to fight him because his mother was taken. So trying to extend it into a bunch of films doesn't make sense. Sort of looking at your other arguments, the idea of like making trilogies upon trilogies on every character don't
One more
make a ton
minute.
of sense because every trilogy wouldn't have been helmed by Zack. They would have been helmed by each individual director. So if Zack has one individual story that he's trying to tell, and he's trying to take these characters from A to B, then he's really restricting what that other director can do with their character for their trilogy, because he has sort of the beginning and the end of that character, like let's say Wonder Woman in respective to Justice League. He has the beginning and the end in mind. So now the director has to
30
formulate
seconds.
his story, his trilogy or her trilogy into the idea of like what Zack was looking at. We're seeing this right now with Wonder Woman 84, where Wonder Woman 84 doesn't really look like and doesn't really feel like what's happening in the main arc of the DCEU, or I call it the Snyderverse now. It doesn't really fit in that
10 more
because
seconds.
Patty is doing her own thing, and she should be allowed to. Like, she should have the individual freedom to make the Wonder Woman that she wants. So I think that what should have happened is that Zack finishes his story, and then if people want to
Okay.
take those characters and
That's
give
it.
their own perspective, they should do that.
Time's up. Time's
Later.
up. Thank you very much. Thank you both. That was a very good round. I think you guys both did a good job of explaining both of your perspective while coming at the other person's point of view. So thank you both very much for that. Next up, I'm giving you both 1 more minute to, I guess, respond to the dismantling of your argument that you just heard. So the next minute is going to be you defending your position once more against the opposition that you just faced. So Kareem, you have
Yeah.
1 minute to do this. So Gio focused on how difficult it would have been to keep these trilogies going while continuing Zack's story in the midst of it. So you have 1 minute to defend your position, starting now.
I'm just gonna go ahead and say something. Just imagine the Batman Begins, Dark Knight, Dark Knight Rises, Man of Steel, the Dark Knight versus Superman rather than Batman versus Superman without the Dawn of Justice. This is what we could have had. I'm not saying Christian Bale was going to return. I'm just saying it's the same thing. You've got amazing development for Batman. Imagine this Batman from the Christian Bale saga. Because he retired as Batman at the end of Dark Knight Rises, he comes back to Metropolis, knows that Detective Blake, which is also Robin, has passed away in the Metropolis problem. I think no general
30
audience, no
seconds.
fan in the world would even complain about Batman vs Superman because there's sort of continuity with the Dark Knight trilogy. Now, with that in mind, I was not saying I needed to divide Batman vs Superman into many movies. I'm just saying focus on BVS, so focus on Batman vs Superman. Their idea of justice is conflicted, sure, but we don't need Wonder Woman. We don't need so much African stuff going on with Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor's plot should be very direct, very straightforward,
5
just like
seconds.
Batman and Superman World's Finest, the cartoon animated movie. That's it.
Okay. Thank you very much, Kareem. Gio, Kareem's idea is that, if I'm correct, that BVS had too much going on for it and that it would have served that movie, the story, the characters, and the audience better had it been split apart in different sections. You have 1 minute to defend your point of view, starting now.
Yeah, so again, watching Batman v Superman, I understood Batman's mentality in that film within the film. It happens within the first act. I don't need a trilogy to do it. In fact, that would have hurt what was happening in that film because it doesn't make sense. But let's say that we take the Batman from Chris Nolan's universe and try to bring him in. He already went through an arc. He already developed. His character already moved. This happens in the MCU all the time, where like Iron Man's character has
30
to
seconds.
develop 4 or 5 times throughout everything that's happening in the Infinity Saga, where like if you look at Iron Man 3, he sort of came to a conclusion and he sort of evolved, and then he takes steps back in like the Spider-Man movies where he has to become a mentor again. It just doesn't make sense because you have
15 seconds.
different directors developing the characters. The characters are developed perfectly fine within Zack's 5-story epic, and he had a sort of projection for them. We didn't see enough of Wonder Woman because he had more for her in Justice League, and we see that in the trailer.
Okay.
Like
Time's up.
there was more for her character there. So
Time's up. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Gio. It was amazing.
It was.
Thank
It
you.
was.
You
Thank
too, brother.
both. So far, I think this is a pretty good jumping off point for the RTSC debates. But before we get finished and that I get to announce the winner and all that good jazz, you both have another 30 seconds to give off your closing statements, your closing thoughts. So Kareem, you started this whole thing, so you're going to keep starting again. So you have 30 seconds. Let us know, starting now.
I was also convinced by Ben Affleck's need to kill Superman from the first arc, but it wouldn't hurt one bit to see a movie, a prequel of some sort that explains why Ben Affleck is the way he is, because we're not the target audience only. There's a whole world that's willing to watch BVS.
15
Batman
seconds.
vs. Superman are the most iconic characters, and they deserve as much spotlight on them as possible. No interference from Wonder Woman
10 seconds.
or the African Desert or Lex Luthor, all that. It has to be Batman vs. Superman developed into a movie where they clash through the entire
right.
movie and not just a 7-minute physical fight.
Okay, great. Gio, 30 seconds. Go ahead.
I think that we should have, I think that the studio should have stopped meddling into the Snyderverse. You should have just let them finish it and let that story complete. If we wanted to dive into these characters, we could have. The multiverse exists, and then they could have handed this over to a different director, created a trilogy there that totally makes sense, and they could have a arc there that doesn't need to puzzle into what's happening to Zach's main arc. So I think at the end of the day, what Zach was doing was right, and I hope that we get to see more of it.
Awesome. That was exactly 30 seconds, Gio. That was perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you both. Thank you, gentlemen.
Welcome.
That was really good. I think that I think we gave the audience a taste of what's to come in the weeks ahead. And I really believe you guys were the perfect guys to do this. And I'm actually really glad that we were able to do this particular topic. I think that it's good that we disagree with each other. And I think that the fact that we do, and that, we still love Zack and his movies, and that we still can be polite and kind to one another regardless of our differences. I think that just shows such great strength of our community and of our fandom. Well, I guess I got to pick a winner now. You both made great points, and I actually found myself agreeing with a lot of what you guys said. Karim, you're absolutely right. I would have loved to see more of Ben Affleck's past and his road as Batman, which is obviously very different from the road that Christian Bale's Batman took. So it would have been really remarkable to see more of that character go through some of those upheavals and those struggles to reach to that point where we find him in Dawn of Justice. But I also really agree with Gio about having a singular vision and a singular focus, and how that can enhance the final product, and how even if Zack had finished his story, they could have still gone back and done some of those things. But I'm going to have to give the victory to Gio on this one.
Well deserved.
It's a very well.
Yeah.
I think you both did great. But I think Gio took it up a notch, so I got to give it to him. But then again, I might be wrong. So when this thing goes up, there's gonna be a Twitter poll that we're gonna put up through the RTSC Twitter account, where the audience can go and vote. And you guys can tell us who you felt won, whether it be Gio or whether it be Karim. With that said, please subscribe to the channel, ring that bell, and put comments. Let us know what you thought. Ringing the bell is going to let you know the moment that another one of these comes up, or another one of the videos that are going to be coming up on this channel. May it be another roundtable or some of the other exciting things that the channel has planned in the weeks and the months to come. I want to thank the RTSC page, and I want to thank everybody who took the time to check in and to watch this and to listen to us. And I hope that you'll be back every week for another Snyder Cut debate. Before we head out, Karim, why don't you tell people where they can find you?
They can find me on Twitter. It's Mia San Kronos, and on Instagram it's easy for Karim. EZ4KARIM.
Nice.
That's it.
Gio, what about you?
On both Twitter and Instagram, I am at B_I_NGIO, like the song. Yeah. You guys can find me there. I'm also on Go Deep every so often. Come check us out over there. But make sure you subscribe to this podcast.
Yes,
first.
Subscribe to us first.
And then the next one second. Right away, hit both buttons.
And you can find me at ManUnited0710. If you enjoy listening to me, you can always listen to my podcast. I'm part of the Exiles Network, where I review movies and whatever the hell we feel like in that day. So I've had Gio on there, and Karim, we got to get you on there eventually as well.
Definitely.
We got to find the time to get it done. But until next time, thank you all, thank you both, and remember, the Snyder Cut is coming.
All right.